So Charlie, wake up after transplant. One of the things that I didn't know about, which I experienced, was delirium. Can you explain a little bit about what that is and how it may affect someone after a transplant?
The most important thing with delirium is it's sudden. It's not something that creeps up and just happens over weeks and months. Within the transplant population, we can probably say that 80% of people who have a transplant may experience some delirium. And that can be for a couple of days, it can be for a bit longer, it can go into a few weeks. And that's rare, but it does stop. It's not something that goes on forever and ever. I explain delirium as you're being taken for surgery. That might be between 5 and 7 hours, 8 hours. Everybody's surgery is different. We give you all these medications to keep you asleep. We then take you into ICU where you're still asleep, and then you're on this new cocktail of medications after transplant. You might waken up within 24 hours, 48 hours, several days. And when you wake up, you can imagine the brain is dealing with all these new medications on board. Our circadian rhythms go out of balance. The brain plays tricks on people, and people start to maybe experience visions. They might see animals running around ICU, or the staff look like children. And it can be very frightening for people. The majority of people usually laugh. The lady who I saw today, for example, said she remembers just laughing, and there was an elephant walking through ICU, and she said, "There's no way an elephant can be in the ICU, but I love elephants." And that was her experience for several days of this elephant walking through ICU. For her, it wasn't difficult. Other people have experienced when they close their eyes, they might see visions in their eyelids, and for them, it's incredibly frightening. And as I said before earlier, in the evenings, people can start to experience these things more. The sleep's affected. They can become much more emotional. The most important thing is delirium is not forever. It's not going to be there for weeks and months and years. But it's really important that families are there. Families do help with delirium. They help to ground people. And there's those people, lucky people out there that don't have delirium.
Yeah, and like you said, there's different levels of it. I had a really quite minor case
Yes.
where I was just confused and thought that the nurses wouldn't let me out of the hospital until I slept through the night, and I was pretending to be asleep when they'd come in and check on me, because that's what I convinced myself in my own head. But I think I may have been told about delirium prior to it. But like you said,
Yes.
you get so much information, I probably didn't remember. But I think being prepared for it, you don't necessarily need to be worried and anxious about it, but being prepared for it will
Yes.
probably help you if it does happen. Because then you can level out in your own head, go, oh, I remember being told about this. I'm seeing an elephant, like you said, through ICU. That's obviously not possible. It might just help
Yeah.
the balance a bit more. And if you do feel like you're starting to experience things in that situation, mention it to the team. Don't
Very
just
much.
sit back and try and deal with it. It's always good to get ahead of it.
And being able to think, well, thank God I can put that to rest. It wasn't real, but it felt real, and I just wanted that reassurance,
Yeah.
and that was really important.
And that's a great point, actually, Charlie, because when we're talking about it now, it's very easy to say, an elephant walking through ICU, that can't be possible, that's not real, or whatever the scenario
Yeah.
is. But when you're in that state, those lines aren't clear at all. Like you don't have the clarity of that elephant. That might feel way more normal than some other things that have happened that day to you.
Yeah.
So I guess to understand that what's normal right now, outside of the state that you can be in with delirium, is completely different.
Yes.